thank you all for first coming to this presentation. I know this topic is very serious in nature, and a lot of people are requesting a lot of information, and inshallah, we will try to point that out and try to be resources for you all. I would like to start with a dua very quickly, and then we can move on. Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. Allahumma kun li waliyika al-Hujjat ibn al-Hasan, salawatuka alayhi wa ala abai, fi hadhihi sa'a wa fi kulli sa'a waliyan wa hafidha wa qa'idan wa nasira, wa dalilan wa ayna hatta tuskinahu ahlaka wa rahmatahu fiha tabila bi rahmatika ya arhamar rahimin. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. First of all, I want to take this opportunity to thank IEC, Mehdi Mirza, and especially Saklan Bhai for setting all of this up and helping us to present these issues to you all. I know for a fact that I would not have been able to do the technology that Saklan Bhai has been doing, so thank you so much. And I also want to take this opportunity to thank the panel. This is just the tip of the iceberg of professionals that we have in our community. I understand that and I realize that, and I thank them especially for being a resource in this time of need. Inshallah, we have a pretty tight-knit program here. We should be about an hour, 15 to an hour and a half at the very most. Inshallah, I will be presenting on financial relief and the CARES Act. Zain Sayed, who is an employment attorney and well-versed in paid sick leave and emergency relief. He will be presenting on employment relief and the Families First Coronavirus Response Act. Hussein Lakhani will be presenting on mortgage relief options and things that you guys have, mortgage homeowners have in terms of options to get some relief in that area. And then Ali Asghar, who works for Bank of America, I believe. Yeah, Bank of America, to talk about small business loans and some of the Illinois programs. We encourage any questions and answers. Everybody will be presenting for about 10 to 15 minutes. Hussein will take a little bit longer, about in the 15 to 20 minute range. And then inshallah, we will have about 20 minutes, inshallah, for question and answers. Please text your questions to me directly, and we will try to save them for the end so not to disturb the speakers. My number is 630-362-8115. You should also be seeing it on your screen. So inshallah, with that, I will begin right into financial relief. So the main driver of financial relief that has been passed is the Coronavirus Aid Relief and Economic Security Act, which is the CARES Act. It is a federal law which provides a stimulus check to every legal resident that is not claimed as a dependent or eligible on someone else's tax return. So basically, as long as you file your own taxes and you're not a dependent, and so the students obviously would be under their parents, you will have a stimulus check coming to you, or probably already has come to you. I know a lot of people have already received theirs. If you have direct deposit, if you filed your taxes already and the IRS has your bank information, then your check may have already come in. To the extent that you don't have those things, I have some information and some resources later on in the presentation. So how much money can you expect? The bare minimum the cap is at about $75,000. So anybody earning $75,000 or less can expect $1,200 or $1,200. That caps out at $99,000. So this is for individuals. Starting at $75,000, you get $75,000 or lower, you get $1,200. And that caps out at $99,000. So anybody an individual earning $99,000 or more does not receive a stimulus check. Similarly, for married couples, it is the joint income is $150,000 or less. So if it's $150,000 or less, you get $2,400 from the federal government. And then it starts graduating out. So the top of that limit is $198,000. So if you're a family you have, if you earn more than $198,000, then again, you are capped out, you're maxed out, and you don't get a stimulus check. In between the $150,000 to $198,000, it just lowers $5 for every $100 earned. So you start at 2,400 and you gradually move down as you go up to 155, 160, 165. It gradually goes down to until it gets to zero. And then I believe you also get $500 per child. So that is also part of the CARES Act. So the income that the stimulus check that you will receive, it's based on the income calculated from your most recent tax return. So it will essentially be calculated for your 2019 if you've already filed. If you haven't filed 2019, then it would be calculated based on your 2018. One big caveat here is that, let's say you're not experiencing any issues with coronavirus right now in terms of employment, but you start experiencing them over the next year and your 2020 tax returns show a lower income. What they have said, what the federal government has said, is that you may still get a stimulus check next year after you file your 2020 tax returns. Yes, your 2020 tax return, but again, that's still up in the air. Obviously, federal government, the state governments, they're capping out their own budgets just to complete this program. So it can be very difficult. To the extent that you are qualifying right now, that's probably your best bet to get the money. Those who receive Social Security but didn't file a return in 2018 or 2019 will still receive stimulus checks based on the information they sent to the IRS on their SSA 1099 or their RRB 1099. So as long as you file taxes, as long as you have information with the federal government, then you should be receiving a stimulus check. I've already gone through how it will be calculated. So how do you actually get it? Again, if you have a direct deposit with the federal government, you will not need to file any additional paperwork. You don't need to apply, nothing like that. Actually, there is no application. The only thing is for people who haven't filed, or for people who receive mail or who have been doing mail checks, or they get their filing through the mail, they get their tax returns, they get their return money through the mail, then you'll have to wait for the mail. There is a way to get more information on that. Non-filers, anybody who hasn't filed because they haven't needed to, they're still eligible to get a stimulus check. And that is the website that I've posted right there. As long as you click on that page, that'll take you for the non-filers page. If you go to irs.gov, you will be able to get more information on all of this. And I believe that there's also a status checker as well to see where your money is and if it's in transit or not. Inshallah, hopefully the people who do qualify and who do need it, inshallah, you will be getting it. And to the extent that, there are any issues, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to help in any way, and we can kind of help you out and go from there. With that, I will move on to employment relief. And Zain Sayed will be talking about that a little bit more and the Families First Coronavirus Response Act.
Assalamu alaikum, my name is Zain Sayed. I'm going to be talking about the Families First Coronavirus Response Act. It was signed into law last month in March, and it was effective on April 1st. The leaves that it provides to employees will expire as of December 31st. They may be extended at a later point in time, but we're not sure about that yet. Next slide, please. So one of the portions of the FFCRA provides paid sick leave. Paid sick leave is available for 2 weeks, and it applies to all employees of private employers with fewer than 500 employees and public agencies of any size. The leave does not apply to healthcare providers or emergency responders. So you can get this leave immediately upon hire with a private employer. The entitlement that you receive is 80 hours for a full-time employee, and part-time employees receive the number of hours that they would work on average over a 2-week period. So when you do take off for yourself, for example, if you are quarantined because of the coronavirus, you would receive your full rate of pay. It's capped at $511 per day, or a total of $5,110. When you are taking leave to care for a quarantined individual or a child whose school or place of care has been closed, you receive 2/3 of your rate of pay, and that is capped at $200 per day or $2,000 total. And again, so you can take this leave for 2 weeks. Next slide, please. Here we have all of the leave reasons for which you can take paid sick leave. The first is that you are subject to a federal, state, or local quarantine or isolation order related to COVID-19. So that means that a government authority has ordered you to be quarantined or isolated. The second is that you've been advised by a healthcare provider to self-quarantine due to concerns related to the coronavirus. The third is that you're experiencing symptoms of the coronavirus and you're seeking a medical diagnosis. And the fourth is that you are caring for an individual who's subject to a quarantine order or advised to quarantine or isolation. So that means that individual has received an order either from a government authority or a healthcare provider in relation to coronavirus. And finally, the last leave reason is that you are caring for your child if your child's school or place of care has been closed or the child care provider is unavailable due to coronavirus precautions. Next slide, please. The second component of the FFCRA that is really important is that it expands the Family and Medical Leave Act of 1993 so that you can use the 12 weeks of leave that you would normally take, for example, for pregnancy or a serious health condition. You can now use the FMLA for coronavirus-related reasons. In particular, this expansion applies only if you are taking care of a child whose school or place of care has been closed. And that this, again, you can take this leave for up to 12 weeks if you are unable to work or telework. This also applies to private employers with fewer than 500 employees and public agencies of any size. For this particular leave, you need to have been employed with your employer for at least 30 days. So it doesn't apply to, if you've just been hired by your employer, you would not be able to receive it until you've been with your employer for 30 days. It doesn't apply to healthcare providers or emergency responders. Again, the entitlement is 12 weeks, and that entitlement will come from the Family and Medical Leave Act of 1993. You receive 2/3 of your regular rate of pay, and that's up to $200 per day or $12,000 total. I've gone through the third bullet already. So Jaffer, next slide, please. The US Department of Labor has created a fairly lengthy FAQ that's going to be really helpful if you're considering taking either of these leaves. Some of the questions that I can think off the top of my head is, what does, for example, a lot of the questions are geared towards the definitions of the words that are used in the Act. So, for example, various words within the Act have looser meanings than you might expect. For example, place of care is not necessarily just a business. It could include a grandparent who regularly takes care of your child. Another question that I can think of is, what does it mean for a school to be closed? If a school is providing online services to your child, does it mean that it's closed? In that case, it would be considered closed. What does child mean under the Act? It's not just a biological child. Like, you could be acting in place of a parent for a child that is not necessarily your own. and you still may be eligible for leave. Another question is, can leave be taken intermittently? For example, you may be able to get some care for your child on a Monday and Wednesday of every week. Can you take leave during the other days of the week? And the answer to that is yes, as long as your employer agrees. And other questions that you'll find on the FAQ include, what does it mean to be unable to telework or work? You'll also find information on how you apply for leave and what documentation you need to provide to your employer. I won't get into that now, but it's certainly something you can look at or ask me later on. Thank you, Jaffer.
Thank you very much, Zain, for that very good, very succinct presentation. I will also say, in terms of these leaves, employers right now are very willing to work with employees, and it's just a matter of talking to your employer. So feel free to approach your employer to work out these situations and kind of get some help. Employers are also very understanding of situations right now, and they're also kind of in a limbo trying to figure everything out. The next topic that we have is unemployment relief. So we will discuss a little bit. The CARES Act has put into place some relief options, but I want to make it very clear, first and foremost, that unemployment relief, unemployment programs are state specific. So there is no federal government agency that deals with unemployment benefits. The money from the federal government flows down to the states, and then the states are the drivers and the issuers of those funds. Again, I'll stop here for 1 second. If you guys do have any questions, please feel free to text me. My number is 630-362-8115. It should also be showing up, I think, on the screen, inshallah. It's also posted down in the comments, 630-362-8115. So some of the changes to unemployment, there has been a boost, so to speak, of money, an influx of money coming in from the federal government to the states. The Families First Coronavirus Response Act, along with providing all of those leaves that Zain just summarized, also gave $1 billion to state unemployment trust funds. And then the CARES Act, which I talked about a little bit earlier, gave another $250 billion for unemployment benefits. I didn't want to depress you all by putting a chart as to how many people, unfortunately, have filed unemployment. It is a very grave situation. Basically all of the jobs that have been gained since, I think 2008 have all been erased within a matter of 1 to 2 weeks. So as you can tell, that is probably putting a very large strain on the system. So to the extent that you do need these kinds of benefits, please do apply at your earliest convenience. I do have, in my next slide, inshallah, I'll show you guys some of the caveats and the requirements and some of the resources for that. The requirements for unemployment have also been laxed. So requirements to search for work and wait a week before receiving unemployment benefits have been waived. And the unemployment benefits has gone into workers that usually aren't covered. A big one is gig workers. So if you were even driving for Uber or Lyft, that is enough to start qualifying you as a self-employed person that is eligible for unemployment benefits, as well as contractors and any furloughed employees. The increases to unemployment from the federal level have come down to the states, and that is an increase of $600 per week for 4 months. So you may be asking, well, oh my God, why don't I just apply for unemployment because it's so much money? And you would be right, honestly. Actually, the policy decision behind this was the federal government wanted to encourage people to stay at home. And if that encouragement comes through the form of unemployment being so high that it's almost too hard to say no to, then that's what they were going to do. Because this virus is spreading so rapidly, it is obviously a problem. So they wanted to try to flatten the curve. And one of the ways that they did that was unemployment benefits. It provides an additional 13 weeks on top of state benefits. So I don't have the Illinois state benefits in here, but the Illinois benefits run for, I think at least 8 weeks or 6 to 8 weeks. And then on top of that, you'll have another 13 weeks. Part-time workers also qualify. Just note, two things to note. One, unemployment benefits are taxable income. So if you do apply for unemployment benefits and you do receive unemployment benefits, you will be taxed on them in the next for your next tax filing. So next April, inshallah, hopefully all will be back to normal. Any unemployment benefits that you receive, those will be taxable income and you will be taxed on those. And then the assistance program expires December 31st, 2020. One thing that I will say about unemployment benefits is, if you feel that you may or may not qualify, just go ahead and apply. That's what I've been telling people. If you feel like you're on the edge and you're not sure if you qualify or not, it's better to just go ahead and apply. And if you get denied, you get denied. But lo and behold, if you were eligible and you received unemployment benefits, then hooray, you got them. And you hopefully, inshallah, your life is a little bit easier now. So this is the big slide. It has a lot of information on it, and inshallah, it'll be helpful to you guys. And I'll stop here for a really quick side note. To the extent that you need these slides for the links and stuff like that, inshallah, we'll have it emailed out, or feel free to text me. I'm happy to email it to anybody. The website for the Illinois Department of Employment Security is listed right here. As long as you click on that website, it'll take you to the page and to the filing system that you can start. Because, as I mentioned, because the stress of the system has been so high, they have basically divided up people by the alphabet, and they tell them to apply on certain dates. So if and when you do apply for unemployment benefits, please make sure to keep these dates in mind. So last letters, beginning with letters A through M, are asked to file on Sundays, Tuesdays, or Thursdays. So hopefully, inshallah, I don't have to do this, but inshallah, if for example, if it was me, my last name is Lakhani, I begin with the letter L, I am A through M, so I would have to file on Sunday, Tuesday, or Thursday. Those last names beginning with N through Z are asked to file on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Again, the system, there have been a lot of complaints about the system being overburdened. It's a completely natural thing. As you know, millions of people are filing for unemployment. It will take some patience, but try to at least follow along with the schedule that has been set by these state governments, so that there's no easy excuse for them to just kind of kick you out or reject your applications. Again, Saturdays will be available for anyone to accommodate those who cannot file during their allotted window. So Saturdays is kind of a wild card. You can file, but try to stick to those dates so that you get into line and at least you hold your place there. For those people who do not have internet or don't have a computer accessible, you can go through the telephone. Their Chicago office number is 312-338-4337. Again, if you do have internet and you're not finding that link, just click IDES, which is IDES, Illinois Department of Employment Security, and just type in COVID. And it'll take you right to the page. So to the extent that you do have internet, that number, I would probably, at this point, as much as I can, I discourage from filing through phone because it'll just take a really, really long time. And a lot of people have said that they can't get through to anybody when they file through the phone. So be wary of that. Again, there is a call center filing schedule as well. Those last names beginning with A through M, will be asked to call on Tuesdays and Thursdays between 7:30 a.m. and 6 p.m. Those last names beginning with N through Z will be asked to call on Mondays and Wednesdays, and the office lines are open 7:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. Fridays will be for anyone to accommodate. Again, that's wildcard day. Please try and be patient. These people are overworked, overstressed, and they're trying to help you out. Inshallah, you will be able to get some help. I would definitely encourage online use though. And now, inshallah, we will move on to Hussein Lakhani, who is a mortgage broker and real estate investor. He has helped a lot of people in our community, mashallah, with mortgage relief. And I know this is a topic that is on top of many minds today. So inshallah, we will go through that. Hussein, if you could begin, please.
All right. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Thank you, Jaffer, for the introduction. I hope to, try to add some value for all of you to get some good information about how to get some help on the mortgage piece of things. Just want to start with, COVID-19, coronavirus. It's kind of brought life to a screeching halt. And although it's kind of a health crisis, it's causing a lot of financial stress on a lot of people. It's a good thing that at least this time the government responded well, and they quickly passed a lot of stimulus, especially this CARES Act. And I think I learned a good amount of information already from this presentation about the leave options and unemployment, so that's great. I'm going to be covering today the mortgage piece of things and basically the different relief options that are available because is basically the options that are available, who is eligible, how to apply for those benefits, and what to do after you're approved. So I'll start with basically the two protections that the CARES Act provides to homeowners. The first one being the forbearance, and the second one being a foreclosure moratorium, which is pretty much fancy for, they're stopping any foreclosures from happening, new ones and existing ones that are in process. These protections are available for homeowners who have a mortgage that is federally backed. And we're going to go ahead and define what that means on the next slide, and how to find out what type of mortgage you have as well. At the same time, if you don't have a federally backed mortgage, there are some other options available, and we're going to cover those as well. So if we could please go to the next slide, Jaffer, please. Okay. So let's start with just defining what a mortgage forbearance is. A forbearance is when your mortgage servicer or lender allows you to pause or reduce your mortgage payments for a limited period of time. Forbearance doesn't erase what you owe. You'll have to repay any missed or reduced payments in the future. So I want to just quickly pause over there. A lot of people, I've received a lot of calls from clients, community members. Hey, how do I get some relief on my mortgage and not have to pay it? A lot of people are looking at this as free money. And I just don't think it would be smart for us to approach it that way. It's good if you're experiencing difficulty making your mortgage payments to take advantage of this program. But what you don't want to do is use this as a tool to, waive your mortgage payments for a few months and, take that money and use it for something else. Because by definition, the forbearance is just a temporary pause on your payments, and it will have to be paid back over time. So I just want to caution everybody who's going to be applying for this to not treat it recklessly and just take advantage of it as you need it. The second piece of it, the moratorium, suspended or stop foreclosure. With that, foreclosure is basically when the lender wants to take property back after a homeowner has failed to make the required mortgage payments. So local, federal, county, all lawmakers have suspended all foreclosures currently. That means if you are delinquent on your mortgage, if your foreclosure is already in process, they're not going to be able to, move forward with that. And if a new foreclosure is being filed, they're not going to be able to record that with the county. So that's suspended for a total of 60 days as of mid-March. So basically what that means is, if you're in process or we're going to go into foreclosure, nothing's really going to happen until mid-May. Joffrey, if you could please move to the next slide. So basically, so we know that the two options that are available are forbearance and, suspension of foreclosure. We know what those are now. The next step, and these options are available on federally backed mortgages. So the next step is to find out if you have a federally backed mortgage. And the way you can do that is basically one of the simple ways is that you can call your mortgage company, which is pretty much your mortgage servicer, the company that collects your payments every month. And you can ask them like, hey, is my mortgage federally backed? Or hey, what type of mortgage loan do I have? The other options are, if you currently have, there's three types of federal agencies that back mortgages. One is a Fannie Mae, two is Freddie Mac, and three is Ginnie Mae. So Ginnie Mae does all the government loans. Government loans are loans like FHA, VA, USDA, or HUD loans. So what that means is if you have a VA loan or a FHA loan or a USDA loan, that means your mortgage is federally backed. And that means you're eligible for the relief options that the CARES Act provides. If you have a conventional loan, there's a high probability that it's backed by Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac. And again, you can call your servicer to find out, or you can use, there's links on this slide, which take you to a lookup tool that both Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac have. And once you go on that website, all you have to do is just punch in some basic information like your name, your address, last four of your social, and it will tell you, yes, you have a Fannie Mae loan, or no, you do not. And you can start with Fannie and then go to the Freddie Mac tool, and that way you'll be able to find out if your mortgage is backed by either Fannie or Freddie Mac. So basically, that's how you would find out if you're eligible for these options. You would have to have a federally backed mortgage, either Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, or Ginnie Mae. Now, what about those people who don't have a federally backed mortgage? So basically, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, CFPB, has encouraged pretty much all lenders, even on mortgages that are not federally backed, to work with their borrowers and offer them options to help let them make their payments. So they're offering payment arrangements, payment plans, loan modifications, and they are going to work with you. So there's a lot of assistance on the state level as well. The CARES Act is a federal act, so that's the federal assistance. A lot of local states are also doing their own packages for homeowners struggling to make their mortgage payments. So after you check if your mortgage is federally backed or not backed, the next step is to basically apply. And when you do apply, what you will see is basically the option that's available. The way you apply is you contact your servicer. That's the company that takes your monthly mortgage payments. Very simple. And basically the law gives you the option to get a forbearance for up to 180 days or 6 months. And it doesn't require any documentation. You would simply call and tell them that you're experiencing a coronavirus related hardship and you're unable to make your mortgage payment. And for that reason, you'd like to apply for the forbearance program. And by default, you should be able to get 180 days or 6 months. And you also have the option to get an extension of another 180 days after the 6-month period is over. Another thing to know is that there's not going to be any late fees, penalties, additional interest, costs to get the forbearance. Also, your credit report your servicer is not going to report you late on your mortgage on your credit report. So that's kind of nice. So you're not going to, have any negative reporting on your credit report. The foreclosure moratorium, we already covered that. Basically, all foreclosures are suspended for 60 days, new ones from being filed and existing ones from being processed. So thanks for switching the slide, Josh. So now we're going to talk just a little bit about people who have a mortgage that's not backed by the government. Again, your first step would be to contact your servicer, and you're going to have to basically share your situation with them. And some of the questions you're going to kind of face is the main thing they're looking for is whether this hardship that you have financially is because of COVID-19. So as long as you can kind of stay on, that narrative, the chances of you getting approved for a forbearance are relatively high. So that, on the slide, you'll see some, what you may need to explain, some questions to ask, and also an important phone number, which is through HUD, because HUD is a, housing agency from the government, and they have a home counseling department. Phone number is on there. There's a website as well. You can go on the website and find the closest HUD counselor to your location. And you can contact them for assistance and they'll guide you through this process. This would be especially helpful for people who don't have a federally backed mortgage, because the counselors are able to kind of find those state programs that are available for all homeowners. So yeah, those are pretty much the options for people who don't have a federally backed mortgage. And, I would say in perspective, I would say that would be maybe 10% of people on this call, if that. So what to do next steps after you apply for forbearance. These are just some, best practices. The first one is get it in writing. It's always good to have these things in writing because in the future, if you, let's say, for example, your mortgage company reports you late on your mortgage, on your credit report. So that could really ruin your score. And since you're entitled to not have that, you could use that documentation to get your credit fixed. Or if your lender charges you some sort of fee that they're not supposed to charge you, or interest or late fee, if you have that document in writing, you could use it to kind of get that reversed. So that's basically the reason behind having that document or the forbearance agreement in writing. Just a quick note to organize all your paperwork related to all the relief you're getting. It would just be helpful for you in the future. Monitor your credit report. If you don't do that, that'll basically just help you catch some sort of late reporting from your mortgage company and fix that quickly so this doesn't hurt you. Next would be to pretty much, once your forbearance period is over, you'll contact your servicer either for an extension or to resume payments. So those will be your next steps. A couple of side notes, during times like this, unfortunately, there's always a large amount of scams going on where people will contact you and tell you like, hey, we can help you, get you some free money and you don't have to make your mortgage payments and here's our fee. And they'll want to charge you like $2,000 or something like that. Do not entertain any of that. If you need help, either you can contact your servicer, you can contact approved counselors through HUD, and of course you can call people like me in the community. We'd be happy to help you navigate through the process. As far as renters are concerned, those of you who are renting, your landlords, if they have a federally backed mortgage, are also eligible for relief. And they are, by law, not able to evict any tenants for 120 days if they're having difficulty paying their rent as a result of Corona or COVID-19. So basically, if you're having trouble paying your rent, you're able to stay in your place for at least 120 to 150 days and then you can work out a plan with your landlord. The other thing I just want to say on the side is if your landlord applies for a forbearance or payment arrangement, part of that agreement stipulates that they cannot evict any tenants who are experiencing any hardship from COVID-19. So that's just a good thing to know. So again, so if you're renting and having issues, don't be too discouraged. You know, there are options for you as well. All right, so those are pretty much all of the options available for mortgages. It is the biggest expense that people have. So, you know, I hope I was able to give you some good information. Outside of that, there's one alternative. For those of you who are not affected in any way by Corona or COVID, simply because, you know, you can work from home or, you know, you just don't have any issues financially. One of the things you could do also is refinance. Basically, you know, because of anytime there's turmoil in the economic market, interest rates will typically go down. So I've been doing this for about 15 years and interest rates are at all-time lows. Not only my 15 years, but at all-time lows. So those of you who could benefit from refinancing, now is a really good time, simply because rates are at all-time lows. You can reduce your payment. That should help with finances. You could get rid of PMI. You could change your term, like from a 30 to a 15 year or vice versa. You can consolidate debt, or you could take out some cash from the equity of your home to, you know, keep it as a reserve or whatever you please. One of the other cool things that does happen with refinancing is you're able to get a couple months worth of payment deferrals. So what that means is you could skip 1 or 2 mortgage payments when you refinance. So something you might not need, but it's kind of an added benefit. So that's another alternative if you guys want to take advantage of that because of all-time interest rates being so low. So that's about it for the refinance portion. And I think I have one more slide, Joe. Okay, so those of you who have a commercial real estate property with the mortgage, you have some options as well. Again, the mortgage that you can get relief on has to be federally backed, which is either Fannie or Freddie debt. And provided that is the case, services are offering up to a 90-day forbearance agreement, which is only available between the months of April and August. So if you are considering this, you would have to apply for this forbearance between April and August. First step would be to contact your servicer, because every servicer kind of has a different requirement. But ultimately what they're looking for is they want you to be able to document that the forbearance that you're looking for is specifically because of COVID-19, not any other reason. So, you know, any loans that were delinquent prior to March would be ineligible for any relief. This would be pretty much perfectly performing loans, which, you know, are potentially delinquent after April 1st. So you would have to provide a good amount of documentation, like, you know, the trailing 12 months of bank statements, profit and loss, stuff from your tenants, proving that they're not paying rent when they plan to resume paying rent, the actions you've taken to help them, you know, on a payment plan, et cetera. So the other thing that's good to know also is that on the commercial side, any forbearance that is approved will need to be paid back within 12 months. So it's a 90-day forbearance of 3 months. And then after you resume payments, that amount has to be paid back within the first 12 months. Or if you make some sort of insurance claim, or if you get, and I think this would be a good segue for Eliasgar, if you get any loans from the SBA, like the PPP loan or the EIDL loan, or any sort of loan like that, and you get proceeds from that, which are designed to pay your mortgage, though that would basically make that forbearance agreement null, and you would have to bring that mortgage current right away. And the last thing I want to tell you is if you do get a forbearance on your commercial real estate mortgage, you are unable to evict tenants who are not paying rent because of COVID-19 for a period, for basically the entirety of your forbearance. So these are just some general bullets on people who have a commercial real estate mortgage. They may be looking for a forbearance. And the last thing I'd like to say is I think my contact information is in the slides. The slides will also be posted on IEC's website, I believe. I think Jaffer said that. So, that's why we designed these slides in a way which you can kind of self-service. You can, get to all these links. And, if you need some support on the mortgage side, I'll be personally happy to help you or point you in the right direction. So thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Hussein. Really appreciate your time and your expertise. Mashallah, the questions are flowing in. I will try to save them to the end. Alhamdulillah, we're doing great on time. We have one more portion. I wanted to just make a couple points here. I know the slides are running on a delay, so the speaker is talking about something that you're not seeing, but hopefully it's catching up in about 45 seconds. I'll request the speakers to try to slow down until it catches up, but that's totally okay. I think you guys are still seeing it. Please keep the questions coming in. Inshallah, we will get to those in just about 10 minutes, inshallah. And with that, I will allow Ali Asghar to get going on his portion of the presentation on small business relief.
Thank you so much, Jaffer. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. My name is Ali Asghar, and as Jaffer said in the beginning of the presentation, I am in the banking industry. I've been in the banking industry for almost 15 years now. I pray everybody is safe during this difficult time. Inshallah, we will come through this stronger as a community. As a small business owner, before you do anything, you really must check with the Small Business Administration's website because the rules and regulations are constantly evolving. What was originally presented by the SBA, the Small Business Administration, when this all started, has drastically changed to what is being provided by them today. The small business relief programs have to be initiated through the SBA website, and these loan programs that are being offered through the SBA are executed through participating banks. So what that means is you have to go through their website to apply for the loan or find a lender, and they will put you in touch with lending institutions in your local area who will actually be providing you the loans. The way the program is designed, it's for companies with 500 or less employees per location. At this time, it is a $350 billion program with funds being used to meet various business needs backed by the SBA. The most current need is payroll, mortgage, utilities, rent, etc. And the only way you're going to be able to qualify is if you go to the SBA's website. Jaffer, can you go to the next slide? So there are 3 government-funded loan programs available at this time. The first one is the 7A program. This program offers up to $5 million. It is an all-inclusive loan program managed by the banks for eligible small businesses within the United States. Money can be used for anything that has to do with your business, and to qualify, you must be able to prove immediate hardship. The next program that is being offered by the SBA is the 7B program. This is almost identical to the 7A. However, this one requires you to have a credit check and provide collateral for your loan. One of the benefits of the 7B program is that it offers a grant of $10,000 immediately to the small business owners. And if your loan is denied for any reasons due to credit or collateral issues, then the $10,000 does not need to be repaid back. The best program that's available right now, it's the Small Business Paycheck Protection Program. Unfortunately, the issue with the Paycheck Protection Program is that they're out of money. Money is being reallocated by the government, but it is unknown how quickly that'll be available. Once funds do become available, the Paycheck Protection Program is considered to be the best option available for small businesses. This only works if you still have employees on your staff and if they're getting paid. Now, this special paycheck protection program is administered through your banks. And what it does is it provides funds to pay for your mortgage, rent, utilities, and payroll. Now, the one benefit of this program is that if 75% of your proceeds that you receive are used for the purposes listed above, rent, utilities, and payroll, then after an 8-week period, your loan is forgiven with no payback required. Now, unfortunately, if you do not meet the requirements within an 8-week period, you will have your proceeds converted into an amortizing loan, which will have to be repaid back over a 24-month period. Now, there are rules and regulations to all 3 programs, so you have to abide by the rules set by the SBA. You have to make sure that you follow the guidelines, you provide the proper documentation, paperwork, tax filings, whatever they need to be able to qualify for the programs. These options are also available to self-employed individuals, so please check with the SBA to make sure if you qualify or not. Now, one of the benefits is that certain banks have increased the cap to $10 million, and you have to check with your local lender to see what programs are available to you as a small business owner. Jaffer, next slide. Now, banks understand what you're going through as a small business owner. They know that you're trying to do the best you can by keeping your doors open, by keeping your employees employed, paychecks being sent out, pretty much keeping the economy going. Small businesses are the backbone of the US economy. If you are unsure of how to proceed, you need to call your local banker, call the bank where your bank accounts are, where your loans are, where your leases are, whatever lending credit products you have, call your banker that you usually work with. If you can't get in touch with the banker, call customer service and ask them to specifically talk about COVID-19 relief. You know, most large banks in the United States have launched their own programs as well to go along with the SBA loans. So there are a lot of options available to you as a small business owner to be able to get relief. And one thing that Hussein Lakhani said that is applicable to this as well is be very, very careful of scams. Just as you see with mortgage scams, you know, the current IRS scams, any type of scams that you get a phone call for, there are people who are going to take advantage of you during this very difficult time. So if you do have a question before you provide any paperwork to anybody, make sure you check with the SBA's website. Make sure that that lender is approved by the SBA to be worked with. They do have a list of lenders on their website. You put in your information and it'll tell you who is the local lender in your area. Don't just randomly give your information out over the phone to anybody. Make sure that your local bank, you're authorizing them to take your information, and just be very careful with what you're discussing on these phone calls, because there are a lot of scams happening at this time. You know, as with the mortgage side, there will be no impact to your credit bureau as a business if you do file for any one of these loans or forbearances. Banks are giving deferments on loans. You know, they're refunding you late fees, insufficient fund fees. Banks are pretty much doing whatever they can to small businesses and larger businesses to be able to keep them afloat, keep their doors open, and, you know, giving the relief that everybody is seeing across the country today. Jaffer, that's it for me.
Okay. Great. Thank you very much, Ali Asghar, for your very insightful advice. It is 9:27. Alhamdulillah, we're doing great on time. We do have half an hour left. There are a bunch of questions. That is it for the presentation portion. I'm going to look through my questions, and I've warned these guys that they're now going to be on camera, so hopefully they're ready. I'll give them another 3 seconds before I do so. I'm going to start reading some of the questions. Of course, nobody will be identified or anything like that. I will try to keep the questions as anonymous as possible. We have listed our contact information here for anybody that needs any additional assistance, or, you know, there was some information that we went over too fast or anything like that. I understand, and we apologize that the slides were overly verbose and had a lot of words, but really we did that because we wanted everybody to just see the information, all of it, so that you had one resource that you could just take as a one-stop shop. And then we have the links in there as well. Inshallah, I'll work with Saqlain Bhai and Mehdi Bhai to either email that out or get it posted on the website or both, inshallah. And so hopefully we can do that. think I've given them enough fair warning. All right, they are ready. Good. All right, we'll put them right here. They'll be on the bottom of the screen. I'll start looking over some of the questions and just bear with me 1 minute, and then we can go from there. So one person is asking, can you be eligible for unemployment as well as a stimulus check at the same time? I'll let Zane weigh in on that in a second, but from my knowledge and what I've heard is most people are able to get both. So basically these programs are meant to be, supporting on top of one another. I know from my discussions with small businesses as well as the Illinois Treasurer's Office, you can apply for a small business through the federal government, and then you can also apply for loans through the state programs that there are. And I believe you can do the same thing with the federal. The stimulus check is automatic. As long as you pay taxes, you're going to get it. And so if you're experiencing unemployment on top of that, then that's just another thing that you qualify for. So as long as you qualify, you can. Zane, do you have any additional thoughts on that?
I don't think either of those benefits are mutually exclusive of each other. So if you fall below a certain threshold for your income, when you filed your taxes for 2018 or 2019, you qualify for the stimulus check regardless of whether or not you are currently employed.
Gotcha. Yeah. And another question that we had, Hussein, I'll shoot this over to you. A landlord for a commercial property owns his property. Can a renter still ask for forbearance for 3 months? You're on mute, Hussein.
I would assume that, typically what's happening that I have some personal experience working with tenants, as a landlord. And what we're seeing is landlords are offering a lot of incentives to tenants to pay on time. They're working out renewals with free rent built in. And they're offering payment plans as well for tenants to pay their rent. As far as the 90-day eviction is concerned, if they can document that their hardship or their inability to pay rent is because of COVID-19, I believe the law requires, and I'm not a lawyer, but I believe the law requires them to, have a 90-day period where you cannot evict them. So that's pretty much what would stay true. But I think there's other ways to get your tenants to pay rent, and I think it's just a case-by-case basis. Some of the things we've even seen or done is we've, helped tenants get information like this, routed them to the unemployment offices. We've given them job ads. All of these things pretty much designed to help them pay rent and on time. I hope that helps with the question.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing that I will say, the courts are closed right now. I have recently heard, I have a few matters just pending in court, and one of the matters was supposed to be up for its first appearance in the middle of April, and it's just now gotten kicked to June. So landlords that are experiencing, I think there was an order by the Illinois governor about collections for wage garnishments. Those are going to be stayed for the foreseeable future as well. Basically, the position that the federal government and especially Illinois has taken is basically they're just going to shut everything down. They're going to shut everything down, and they'll deal with the financial consequences later on down the line. And as Hussein was presenting, you could probably see that. Basically, we're piling on some obligations for the banks, for landlords to kind of give forbearance, give out loans, and we don't necessarily know what kind of effect that's going to have. But basically, the government has taken the position that it's just going to go down the line. We're going to deal with that down the line. So that's just, I mean, even if you are a landlord trying to evict, good luck trying to file paperwork, because you can file it, but you're not going to get a court date and you're not going to get an order for the foreseeable future. At least in DuPage County, I know that your court date is going to be at least June 1st. Right now it's April. Another question that we got in was insurance. Gig workers, are they eligible to collect on insurance? And as I said, although they don't contribute, I believe that the CARES Act has made them eligible, to my knowledge, and they are eligible to apply. Again, the government took a very broad spectrum approach to this problem, and they are trying to give as many people relief as possible so that they can flatten the curve and hopefully stay this pandemic a little bit. Let me look here for a few more. So Zain, I will put this question to you if you can. Person works for a company on an hourly basis. Can they in any way claim some money from the company? Full-time hourly basis employee looking for some relief from their company.
Yeah, again, you have the two employment leaves available. The first one is for 2 weeks. Either if you yourself have the coronavirus, or if you are taking care of a child or an individual who is subject to quarantine. So that is your first form of relief. And then the second form of relief is if you need to take care of your child because their place of care or their school is not available. So those are the forms of relief that you have available
Gotcha.
in terms of leave.
And I will say this, I think Zain has probably already put this out there, but emergency paid sick leave and then the FMLA, the extended leave, those are two different things, but you can get both. Is that correct, Zain?
Yes, you can get both.
Yeah, so if you are a person who is unable to work because of childcare, the emergency paid sick leave gives you 2 weeks, and then you get an additional 10 weeks. So if your childcare provider is closed and has been closed, you can get up to 12 weeks of pay at 2/3 your rate. So a lot of these laws, like we've said before, are not they're not mutually exclusive. So you can get benefits on top of benefits. Again, it's just the government's way of attacking the problem. They're not looking at budgets. They're just trying to throw money out there to anybody that can apply. And of course, there will be people who will get it and get a windfall, meaning they'll get more money than they're likely entitled to. But that's just the way that the system is working right now. Zain, is that correct?
Yeah, I don't know if I would describe it as a windfall.
Yeah, true. Good point.
But yeah, a lot of people are eligible if you work for an employer that has less than 500 employees, and so that those benefits are available to you. There is no other form of money specifically coming from your employer as a result of the coronavirus, but those are two forms of relief, that is leave, that are available to you.
Yeah. Another question came in, if you are filing for your child as a dependent who's 17 years or above, do you still get the $500 payment? Yes. Anybody who's a dependent, who's a child, I believe under the CARES Act, you get that $500 as part of your stimulus plan. Another question that came in, if a tenant doesn't pay rent, I'll throw this to you, Hussein. If a tenant doesn't pay rent, is there a way to get money from the government in lieu of not evicting them?
Well, I think we all understand that as landlords, the bills still keep coming in. mortgages, utilities, taxes, insurance, all of those things. And, the way the government is helping landlords is by giving them the ability to apply for a mortgage forbearance, mortgage being one of their biggest expenses. A forbearance. Utility companies are also offering special, arrangements for payments. So when you're, as a landlord, when your tenant doesn't pay your rent, your balance of profit and loss kind of goes out of whack, let's just call it. And, that's where you can kind of default on your expenses. So the government is helping you by giving you the opportunity to kind of defer your mortgage if you're experiencing that sort of hardship. But you cannot, get rent from the government or because of the CARE Act. You can simply, kind of get relief on your expenses so that you can continue to, manage that property and keep it profitable.
Right. And basically, right, even if you get relief from the government or relief on your mortgage, you can't still try to collect rent, right? That's obviously, why it was designed for that reason, correct?
Correct.
Right. I have SBA questions. So Ali Asghar, get on your toes, please. As a sole business owner, somebody who may be on a 1099 for their own business, are they eligible for the payroll protection program?
They are eligible, but the problem is there's no funds available at this time. The federal government is actually going through Congress to allocate more money, which will take a couple of weeks. But there's no timeline as to when the money is going to be available, but you do qualify as a self-employed individual, a single individual business. Most construction contractors, if you are a small mom and pop shop, individual contractor type of business, you do qualify, but you have to go through the SBA's website. You have to go through whatever rules and regulations they've set up, but there are programs available for you. You can also call your local lender. They are offering programs for sole prop businesses, single individual companies or locations to provide you relief. So there are options available right now.
So it doesn't make a difference necessarily if a person is a sole business owner and they're on a 1099 versus a W-2. They would still qualify.
Correct. It doesn't matter what kind of taxes you file, as long as you are filing taxes and you have the paperwork to prove it, and you have the ability to prove hardship, you will qualify for a program out there for you right now.
Sure. So the 1099 versus W-2 question, at least we can respond to, is it doesn't matter one way or the other. Whether that's beneficial for you and your taxes, that's a individual determination that you need to make. I will also add to Asghar's comments. The Illinois state, like he said, they have programs for this, and they have also opened it up to employees that are independent contractors on 1099s for their businesses. The Illinois Treasurer's Office, if you Google Illinois Treasurer, you can find their website. Again, they are just as backed up as the SBA. The participating lenders there aren't that many in the Chicagoland area, unfortunately, because they're still trying to kind of catch up. The best resource, I think, and I think Ali Asghar would agree, is just go to your local bank and see what they're offering for you at this time.
And right now, unfortunately, a lot of the smaller banks are not as set up as the larger banks. The Wells Fargo, Bank of America, PNCs, JP Morgan Chase. These banks, the top leaders in the industry, are well prepared for this problem. They do have the funds. They do have the resources available to be able to help you. If you can't get through the SBA's website, go directly to your lender, call your customer service, tell them this is what your problem is, this is what you need. They will help you. They have been instructed as customer service representatives or local bankers or relationship managers to do whatever they can do to be able to, at least answer the questions that you have.
Gotcha. And Hussein, I think you had some comments as well.
I could chime in, and I think I agree with Ali Asghar, definitely agree with him 100%. I would say that most business owners have a relationship with the banker. I think they should start with pursuing, as long as they're SBA lenders, they should pursue that relationship and kind of leverage it to get help. one of the things, I've been on a few conferences regarding this topic, and one of the things I've heard from, people who've applied for these loans, the PPP loan and the EIDL loan from SBA, that the bigger banks are kind of cherry picking and looking for the bigger loans. So, this program applies for companies who have employees, 500 employees, or some companies have 2 employees or 1 employee. So the companies that have a lower employee count, their revenues are smaller, the amount of loan they want is smaller. And, just like every other loan, when a lender does this loan, they get compensated. So, the bigger banks, the top 5 banks, they're kind of chasing after the bigger clients who want the bigger loan amounts, let's say $2 million, as opposed to somebody who needs $30,000, because, their compensation is a lot less on that $30,000 loan. So sometimes, they are kind of making it hard for the small business owner to qualify, or, not giving them as much attention. So if you do experience that, I just want to add that, it would be wise for you to maybe also try with your community bank, because, they're not as established. Maybe they don't have as much volume. So they're interested in helping, more clients. So I just wanted to kind of add to that, just in case, we would hate for you to go after that big bank and then, they don't really help you. So just as an alternative.
Hussein, I'll hit you with another question that I just received. Can you, it's a simple one, can you refinance a property if there is a lien on it?
If there's a lien on it?
Yeah, there's a lien on it. So can you refinance the property if there is a lien on the property?
I don't know if you're able to ask a question. Okay, so I'll just answer all circumstances. So anytime you refinance a property, you're typically paying off an existing lien, which is an existing mortgage. Other lien types you can have is a judgment for some sort of incident. You can have a property tax lien, or you can have any sort of lien. So essentially, if there's no mortgage on the property, which would be a lien, any other liens would, if they're government liens or judgments, they would have to be paid or released. But if it's like a different type of lien, because we don't know what type of lien we're talking about,
sure.
It would have to take subordinate lien position. So what that means is when you do a refinance, the new lender that you take the mortgage from takes first lien position. They want to be the first company to get paid in the event there's a default. And then any other lien that's on the property would have to agree to say, okay, yes, I will give this new lender the first lien position and take second lien position, which is pretty much, what subordination means. So as long as that existing lien is willing to subordinate, yes, you can refinance. And as long as it's not a government lien, like a property tax lien or income tax lien or a judgment you can get released. As long as it's not one of those type of liens and they agree to being a subordinate lien, the answer is yes, you could refinance.
Gotcha. That was a much more complicated answer too, I thought was going to be a very simple question.
Well, I didn't know what type of lien it was.
I appreciate. I appreciate
to cover all the bases.
I didn't know that was such a that's good information for me. I didn't know that was such a complicated issue. Another question that's coming in, immigration status, which is probably a really big thing. Zane, I'll let you chime in here as well if you know anything about it. CARES Act, do they qualify? Does a green card holder qualify for a stimulus check, even if they're a secret green card holder? I believe as long as you're a legal resident within the country and you file tax, I believe you get CARES Act money, stimulus money. If there's anybody that has any other information or anything different, please do let me know.
Yeah, so even if you're not a permanent resident or a citizen, if you meet the IRS's substantial presence test, which I think has it looks back 3 years to see if you've had a substantial presence, or with a few years back, you would still qualify for the stimulus payment. So green card holders are certainly eligible, but even outside of that, other individuals within the United States will be eligible for the stimulus check. Gotcha.
Great. Thank you very much for that information. Another question I'm getting And I think this would probably go to you again, Zane. If a person is on FMLA, can that person also be eligible for unemployment? I imagine that the answer is no, because if they're on FMLA, then they're currently employed and they're not looking for employment. But Zane, I'll let you deal with that one.
Right. So if you are on FMLA, it means you are currently employed. You would not be eligible for unemployment benefits until you are terminated. You're also eligible for unemployment benefits if you're furloughed by your employer. So that's another case in which you're eligible.
Perfect, great. Yeah, so furloughed employees, that's a very good point. Furloughed employees can also claim unemployment benefits, and I think that's also in the slides, but that's a good point. If you are furloughed, then you have that option. I think we also had another question about SBA loan as an independent contractor. The resources to go to really are, one, the SBA website. Then you can also go to the Illinois Treasurer's Office to see who is participating in their program. Really, your best bet at this point would be to go to your local bank. The banks are trying to help with these programs, and they're in the process of working with the federal and state governments to get these funds to loan out to you. So that would probably be the best resource. Otherwise, if you have any additional thoughts on that.
No, that's exactly it. Reach out to your local bankers, check with the SBA. There are resources available. If you can't find it, you can always call one of us who's on this. We will be able to guide you to the right people to get your questions answered.
Okay. This is an interesting question that came up. The person has applied for a loan to a major bank, a Bank of America, Chase, one of those deals. But they may consider changing to a local community bank that may be able to help them a little bit better. Can they, do you know, Aliasgar, of any canceling application? Is there a process for that at this point, or would that kind of just be contacting the local bank?
It depends on what you've applied for, depending upon the size of the loan, what division of the bank you're working with. Is it a small business loan? Is it a custom mortgage? I mean, there's quite a few different ways to answer this, but you really have to read the fine print in your contract. Some of these loans have breakage fees. There's penalties for agreeing to take the loan and then walking away from it. Right now, given the current environment, you're probably going to be able to walk away from it, but you have to talk to the lender first. Reach out to the person that you would like to talk to and see if there are any conditions that you can qualify for, and if they are able to prevent you from having to pay any of the fees. But it's a case-by-case basis. This is a slightly difficult question. You just have to read the fine print before you agree to do something.
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, if you have applied, I imagine if you have applied and the loan hasn't been approved, I imagine as long as you don't sign on the dotted line kind of thing, then you're good to go, right?
Yeah. If you haven't signed anything and you're not at the funding stage of your loan, and there's no commitment to what you've agreed to do at a bank or what you're proposing to do, then you can walk away at that point.
Okay. Good. Let me see here. I think we have a couple more. Hang in with me, guys, and I will, let me just read here a little bit and then I can ask. Somebody's asking if there's any process or any way to check on your claim for unemployment on the Illinois Department of Employment Security website. Zane, if you know anything about that, I don't believe that there is. I think the system is so overwhelmed that you probably wouldn't get very good information anyway, but Zane, I'll let you chime in if you know anything different.
No, unfortunately, I don't know anything else about that.
Okay. Yeah, I imagine that, I mean, you can probably call to try to get status. I don't believe that, I don't know if you'll honestly get through at this point because the system is so overwhelmed. You might get an email and then you could check that way, but applying really is just trying to get your place in line as fast as possible. How soon the money comes in is even the unemployment office, even the federal government or the state government wouldn't be able to tell you that. Hussein or Alias, this might be for you. How easy is it to get a home equity loan while everything is shut down? Hussein, you're muted.
I think I heard that I'm answering this question. So
yeah, go ahead.
I think banks are still taking applications for home equity lines of credit. So yes, you can apply for those. In times of distress, a lot of times banks will freeze existing home equity lines of credit, but we haven't seen anything like that. So the short answer is yes, you can apply.
Gotcha. Great.
Jeff, I received a question actually from somebody in the community. It's more of a general statement. What do you do if you file joint tax returns, however, your spouse doesn't have a social security number, they're an immigrant to the country or a recent immigrant to the country, or their green card is in process? What options do they have as residents of this country?
Zane, maybe I'll throw that one to you if you have any information.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the first part of the question? They're recent immigrant.
So they're a recent immigrant to the country, however, and they file joint tax returns with their spouse. They include their spouse on their, their regular tax returns. Do they qualify for the stimulus check since they don't have a social security number and their green card's in process?
So I think the lack of the social security number could be a problem. There is one form of other identification number that you could provide to the IRS, but I don't know if they would still qualify. It would really depend on what exactly their immigration status is. I know that there, as we said earlier, there are people besides U.S. citizens and permanent residents who do qualify for the stimulus check, but I don't know enough about their particular situation to say definitively whether or not they would receive it.
Sure. We do have, and if we are not answering questions to your heart's desire, the community resources page on the presentation does have our numbers. Feel free to text, call any one of us after tonight. If you didn't get the proper answer to your question, I truly do apologize, but we'll be happy to follow up. As you know, just one text message can encompass an entire question. Somebody did ask. They were on W-2 and 1099 for more than one job, and they owed money to the federal and state government for taxes. Is there any relief now through, I believe, the CARES Act would be the question. In my mind, I believe even if you do owe back taxes, I imagine as long as you are paying a tax-paying resident, that you could still qualify for a stimulus check, and you would still get that. If anybody has any thoughts on that or has any other knowledge, please do let me know.
Yeah, I recently read that even if you do owe back taxes, you would still get the stimulus check.
Okay, great. Oh, a really good question came in just now, and I think we could probably end it on this. Has the government done anything to relieve student loans for borrowers to lessen the burden during the crisis? This is a part of the presentation that unfortunately we did not cover, but is very important. In the CARES Act, although I don't know the details exactly, in the CARES Act, there are provisions for forbearance of student loans. And I think they basically go interest-free, and you have either 60 days or 90 days where you don't have to make a payment. Again, just like with the SBA stuff and with the mortgage stuff, contact your loan service provider. Whoever services your student loan, then they would be able to give you more information. Most of you guys will be calling some agency that's contracted by the federal government, and you'll be able to get relief that way. If you have private loans, even, I'm sure that they even have programs, SoFi and things like that. They probably have programs to help in these kinds of situations as well. But the student loan thing is very important to the extent that that is applicable to you. just contact your servicer. Most of you guys are federally backed. Go ahead,
Jeff, I have actual information on this. So right now, this really applies to federal student loans. If your student loan is serviced through MOHELA or another federal program, there's two things being administered right now. So there's a forbearance being placed on all student loans that are federally backed for up until September 30th, 2020. You're not required to make any monthly payments on this. Your payments are made. If your payments are made through an auto withdrawal, those will be stopped as well. The other option that's available is a 0% interest rate on all student loans that are federally backed between March 13th of this year to September 30th. What that means is that whatever your student loan interest rate is, that's not going to be applied anymore. Whatever monthly payment you make, say it's $100 or $200, that'll be applied 100% towards your principal payment. However, you got to be very careful. Most student loan programs that are federally backed have administered a forbearance on all individuals with the loan. So right now there's nothing being collected. If you can still make the payments, take advantage of the 0% interest rate, continue to make your payments, call your servicer, and that's key with your commercial loan, your mortgage, call your servicer, whoever is providing you the loan servicing, call them, tell them what you want. If you want to remove the forbearance and apply for the 0% interest rate. If you don't want to do anything, then don't do anything. They'll automatically apply that forbearance. September 30th, your loans will reactivate and they'll add that 6-month period to the end of your loan versus you paying for the 6 months currently right now.
Great. Thank you very much, Ali, for that information. It is 10 o'clock. I don't want to continue too much further. Alhamdulillah, we've answered most questions. I am still getting some questions and I will try to get back to you to the extent that I haven't answered your question and you texted me. Just text me again. I'd be happy to discuss with you. You can also give me a call anytime. I'll end with one last question. I think there is somebody who said that they haven't received their check, their stimulus check. They're on Social Security benefits, but they don't have direct deposit. So in those situations, if you get your tax returns and if you file your taxes through the mail and you don't have direct deposit set up, then it's going to come through the mail. So unfortunately, you're going to have to wait a little bit for that. The federal government has already said that could be a delay of up to I think 10 to 12 weeks, something like that, because obviously the system is overburdened right now. So it will be a while. Again, you can check your status, I believe, on the IRS government website. And I think that answers that question. Hussein, I think you had one more thing to say.
I just wanted to add that I heard through the grapevine. Can you hear me?
Yep.
That there's a section on the IRS website where you can actually add your bank account information. So if that might allow you to get that direct deposit if you didn't file with direct deposit.
Right. No, that's very good. That's a very good point, Hussein. Thank you so much. One thing that I will caution, when you do anything like that online, make sure you're at irs.gov and not irs.com or any other website. Any other website that is telling you to put your bank account information in and you're going to get your return a lot faster and direct deposit, don't. Make sure you're on a credible website like irs.gov. A government website always has a .gov. Even in Illinois, government website will have it usually has a .illinois.gov or just a .gov. It has to have a .gov at the end. We'll end with that is please be careful of scams out there. Unfortunately, although it's a very uncertain time, there are always people out there that will try to take advantage of people who don't have enough information. Inshallah, this program has helped to cure any misinformation or help to give you guys some more information that we were able to provide. It is 10:03, so I'll wrap up. I apologize for any questions that we didn't get. Thank you so much for participating in this program, everyone. I'm very grateful to the questions that we got, and that shows that we had a lot of participation. Again, thank you very, very much, Mehdi Bhai and Saklan Bhai, for setting this up. I know I wouldn't have been able to do it. And alhamdulillah, IEC is, I think, is honestly a leader in the nation with regards to online programming. We were one of the first centers to do that. It's a great source of pride for us. And alhamdulillah, the IEC community has been being served through YouTube for a long, long time. And I know that other communities use it as well. I'll take this last opportunity to thank Zain, Ali, and Hussein from the bottom of my heart. Very much appreciated. Thank you so much for providing your insights. The community really, really benefited from this, I believe. And thank you for providing your contact information. Again, please feel free to contact us. Inshallah, I will end with Dua Imam Zamana, if you guys could read it with me, and then we will conclude. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Muhammad. Allahumma kun li waliyika al-Hujjat ibn al-Hasan. Salawatuka alayhi wa ala abai fi hadhihi as-sa'a wa fi kulli sa'a. Waliyan wa hafidha wa qa'idan wa nasira wa nabiyyan wa aina. حتى تسكنه أرزك وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد. Inshallah, for attending. Please stay safe, please stay healthy, and please contact us if you need any more information. Assalamu alaikum.